Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I'm Prakash Zog. Last time I explained the marriage sanskar in detail. Uh, there is sometimes one more sanskar that is mentioned before the last sanskar. This is known as Agni Parigraha, acquiring the household fire. After marriage, when the householder decides to set up his own separate house, uh, he must establish the fire deity in his house, because at that time fire was the prime requirement of the family. This also establishes him as the head of a new family. Fire was the prime requirement. Nowadays, things have changed. We have electricity, we have water supply, we have gas connections, and so forth. And they all finally do the same job that fire directly or indirectly was doing. Now, I come to the last sanskar. It is known as Antyeshti. Literally, it is the last sanskar because it represents the final rites in Hinduism. This sanskar thus completes a complete cycle of the life of an individual. This is a posthumous sanskar. This is one of those sanskars for which you are personally not present, and it has to be performed by others on your body. Every religion has its own norms and traditions, rituals associated with the end of one's life. Since afterlife and transmigration are a part of Hinduism, there is a very serious thought given to these rituals. Prior to Vedic period, the tendency was to bury the body, keep it buried so that animals don't destroy or mutilate it. And there used to be markers or stone symbols to indicate where these bodies were buried. Vedic period onwards, cremation took over from burial. Uh, Ancestors are equal to gods according to Hinduism. They are all-time well-wishers. So they become highly significant in this final sanskar. The details of this sanskar are given in the Kalpa Sutras, the Shraut Sutra and the Grihya Sutra. Uh, there is also one more text that is very commonly talked of, which is known as the Garud Purana. It also gives a lot of related details. The Garud Puran has a separate section known as the Pretakalpa, which deals with death, salvation, and all related information, dealing not only with what happens to the soul after death, but also to the cremation itself. Let me remind you that according to Hinduism, uh, if the child is less than 2 years old, it is to be buried and not cremated. So the cremation process is only meant for those who are more than that in terms of age. This Garud Puran gives you ideas related to the hell itself, the different forms of hell, the various sins that lead to your stay in these hells, what happens to the soul, how it migrates through different regions uh, after death, how Yamaduts, that is the servants of Yama, who carry away the soul, and what is their action and so forth. In all these texts, the sutras as well as in the Garud Purana, there is a lot of relevant information that is based on conditions that were prevalent at that time. I could say close to around 2000 years ago. But things have changed since then. Uh, we have ambulances that are used to carry the bodies. There is electric crematorium that is available. Uh, the cremation grounds, which were supposed to be outside the town, are now within the limits or at the center of the city itself. So, keeping all these things aside, I'll skip also the various mantras that are associated with this and give the actual information from the sutras as it was prevalent then, so that we get an idea as to what Hindu concepts on death are. The word is Antyeshti. Antya is end, and Ishti is more like a good, desirous yajna, a sacrifice. Actually, it consists of two or three different parts. The first part deals with the cremation rituals, and this is known as the Agnisanskar. Then it is followed by Asti Sanchay, that is collection of the remains. And the third part is the Shraddha Karma, the later rituals. Today I'll talk about the first one. Realize that the whole sanskar is a very solemn and a serious sanskar. And it has to be performed partly at home and partly in the cremation ground itself. The cremation ground must be outside the town in the Agneya, that is the southeast direction, or in the Naitrutya, which is the southwest direction. The reason for this obviously is that south, the Dakshina direction, is the direction associated with our forefathers, our ancestors, and Yama, the lord of death. Also, this cremation site must be on the side of a river, or on a hill, or in a forested area, but isolated from the population area or the populated area. Now, what is done? After death, before cremation, the body has to be processed for its salvation. Tulsi leaves, Ganga Jal, that is water from Ganga, which is invariably preserved in small capsules at home, is to be poured in the mouth of the body. Uh, this is said to remove the ill effects and make the body fit for offering it to flames. The Kaushik Sutra states that after death, the hair, the nails must be removed. The body must be bathed in, and new clothes must be adorned on the body. The thumbs and the thumbs of the feet must be tied by strings to each other. The body must be laid on a special stretcher after placing it on a new cloth, which itself is used to cover the rest of the body. This sanskar is to be performed with the eldest son as in charge of the whole process. There are, of course, many alternatives proposed in his absence. These include that it is the younger brother who can perform it, or sometimes it is the son of the daughter of the deceased person who is authorized to perform these rituals. The process actually helps in deciding who is to take over after or who is the authority after the demise of a particular person. And this is a social recognition of his authority. What is done to the body? The body is placed on two parallel bamboos which have 7 segments of bamboo pieces tied to them. The body is placed and secured on top. The top covering of a cloth, new one, is placed on top. Garlands are offered as tribute and so forth. Uh, and there are pallbearers who would carry this body from the residence to the cremation ground. The house, as I told you, had its own special fires within the house. From these 3 ritual fires in the house, known as the Garhapatya, the Avahaniya, and the Dakshin Agni, small parts were taken out in a pot in an earthen vessel. They were placed on top of a triangular structure made out of bamboo sticks, and the container with the fire was to be carried by the person who would light the final cremation fire. The body is to be taken from the house to the cremation site by teams of 4 people uh, with the fire carrier in front. Usually, even at that time, the distances would be quite a bit, and so there could be a number of stoppages on the way. For a change of these carriers, the body was to be set on ground, and a special offering of known as pateya of mixed floor balls was placed on the ground before the body was carried on further. Outside, at the boundary, on the way, and the cremation ground, various stops of this sort were taken till the body reached the cremation ground. Digging a small trench and laying out the funeral pyre was the next step. The body was placed on top of it, and certain rituals were carried out by the side. These were all in Sanskrit, indicating a variety of factors such as shifting of the sacred thread from its normal side to the other shoulder. This is known as moving from the subway to the other side. Now this process is to utilize this special position for all rituals associated with death. After the body is placed on the pyre, ghee and flour is mixed together and balls are made, which are placed on the forehead, the eyes, the nostrils, the shoulders of the deceased body. One of the significances is to provide some form of food for the departed soul on its way to the afterlife areas. There is another major step that is carried out. Parikrama, or circumambulation of the body, is to be carried out by the person who is to light the cremating fire. On his shoulder, he holds an earthen pot. A close relative stands behind him and, using a stone referred to as an ashma, knocks holes in the pot. The pot, which is filled with water, starts draining out, and he is to trickle all this water all around as he moves around the first time. A second hole is made, he goes around again. A third hole is made, he goes around again. The stone which is used to break it is placed below, and the person has to drop the pot, earthen pot, behind on this stone and then scream out loudly in grief. This is more of a symbolic gesture. Uh, our human body, which is fragile, is like that earthen pot, and its vital energy, the Jiva Sattva, is nothing but the water that is inside. As it drains out and finally ends, the pot becomes worthless. The body is worthless as your life ebbs out. And so it has to be destroyed, more precisely, offered as an offering, ahuti, to Agni, the fire god. And so the vessel is to be destroyed. And you are not going to bear seeing this, so it is to be tossed on behind. How long do you wait? And how is the fire to be lit? Are the two other aspects. There is a word that is often used which is known as mukhagni, that is fire near the face. So the lighting of the fire is done close to the face of the body and then to the lower part till the whole thing catches fire. And the people would wait around till after about half an hour, due to intense heat, the skull would crack. Once this is over, the people are supposed to return home without looking back. What about ladies? The wife of the deceased, the widow, is to accompany the procession that is there to take the body to the cremation ground. On return, she is to be assisted by the younger brother-in-law and bring her back home again. The stone that was used to crack the pot is also brought back along and hung or placed outside the house without taking it inside. The further set of rituals are carried out on this particular stone that has been placed outside. There is a corresponding other aspect. As soon as the body is taken out of the house, the remaining members within the house, small children, very old people, ladies and so forth, are supposed to clean the house. Previously, it used to be, the ground used to be coated with cow dung and cleaned out perfectly because that is a disinfectant, one of the best disinfectants available. So the house was cleaned. Every individual within the house was to have a bath, clean all the house and the areas around it, and light a particular lamp, which was to be retained for a span of 14 days. Scientifically, the significance is obvious. It is if the body was carrying infections of some sort, the whole place had to be disinfected and cleaned and cleared off. Also, the disease clothes were to be disposed of in the process. And the lamp that was lit was to indicate to your ancestors that even if one person has left his abode and joined you people, the rest of the family is surviving and your lifeline is continuing. And that there are residents of the same name and same family and same gotra who are continuing. The returning party from the cremation ground is supposed to offer their prayers at this lamp and disperse off to their residences. The rest of the process associated with Antyeshti is to be carried out in the two other steps, which are not very complicated though. That must be carried out. Those I'll discuss out next time. Till that time, Namaskar.